Yo, what's going on, guys? It's time for another reaction video, and today I'm going to be reacting to Irish culture and customs social etiquette, and this is coming from the YouTube channel Wolf Mama. So if you like this video, go check out her channel as well. Be sure to subscribe to her if you like this video. Let's get straight into this.
Hi, welcome to my channel. I thought I'd do a video on Irish social etiquette and our culture and customs. If you're ever visiting Ireland, hopefully some of these things will help you. If you like this kind of stuff, please give this video a like and subscribe for more. And let's get started. So first up is going for a pint. Ireland has a big pub culture. Most of our socializing is done in pubs. And when someone says to you, are you going for a pint? They never mean, are you just going for one drink? They mean kind of 3 drinks. And if someone says, are you going for a few pints? They really mean, are you coming out for the night? A good rule of thumb is to take the amount of pints they're suggesting and multiply it by 3, so you get a general idea of what they're really talking about. It would be very rare that an Irish person would go to the pub for 1 drink and then leave. It doesn't really happen. And then this leads to the next one.
I like that, the rule of 3. There's other things that they use the rule of 3 for. If you know what I'm talking about, comment below and let me know if you know what some of the other rule of 3 is applying to.
Which is rounds. Usually when you go to the pub with friends, you do rounds. So one person goes up, get a rounds for everyone in the group, and then you take it in turns doing that. And it is really, really bad social etiquette to let yourself be included in a round if you're not going to stay and do your own round as well. If you're not planning to stay out long, just say, oh no, I won't be included in the rounds, thanks, I'll do my own. Another thing to keep in mind with rounds is that if you don't want to get too drunk, maybe don't do rounds, because the pace is always set by the fastest drinkers. So if you're kind of a slower drinker or can't keep up with the pace, then maybe do your own thing, otherwise it's going to be a very sloppy night. Next up is tipping. Tipping in Ireland is at your discretion. It's not mandatory and it's seen as a bonus for a good job done. You usually always tip in restaurants and taxis, things like that, and it's usually 10 to 15%. And for food delivery, you might tip a couple of euro. And then in hotels and things, you really only tip if someone goes above and beyond. I know whenever I go to America, I just feel like I'm tipping everyone for everything, but in Ireland it's not like that. It's kind of just seen as a bonus. Next up is running late. We're not the best timekeepers in Ireland. If you're meeting a group of friends, you're always guaranteed that someone will be running late, and it's not really a big deal. It's not that unusual for someone to be half an hour or even an hour late. I was raised by a Canadian mother, so growing up I was always the first to arrive at everything, and I'm still punctual today. So it's not unusual for me to be sitting at a table for 40 minutes waiting for my friends to arrive, but it's just a more relaxed attitude towards timekeeping in Ireland. Running late, it happens all the time and it's just not a big deal. The next one is please and thank you. The Irish are very polite and we say please and thank you all the time to everyone, but the most important person to thank is always the bus driver. You always say thank you to the bus driver or some kind of acknowledgement when you get off the bus, either a cheers or a thanks or a good luck. It's a sin in Ireland to not thank the bus driver.
We could use that here in the US. I don't really use public transit that much, but it is not it's not always the easiest or maybe most desired job, and they have to put up with a lot of nonsense throughout their shift, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm sure that a simple please and thank you would go a long way for them. So next time I take public transit here, anywhere, I'm gonna make sure I do that.
That's a very important one. The next one is slagging. This can be very confusing for people outside of Ireland to really understand, but slagging is making fun of someone or being mean to someone, but in a loving way, in a fun way, because you're friends. So, and it's usually the meaner you are, the more close a friendship you have.
Sarcastic, tough love
with them. So someone saying to a bald man, hey baldy, is actually just nice, it's fun. As weird as that sounds. Or like my friends, for example, I'm notoriously bad with my tea making skills. So if I ever offer someone a cup of tea, they kind of say, are you making it? Or don't let her near the kettle. And I know it's just because they love me. So it might come across as friends just being really mean to each other, but it's not meant like that. It's meant like in a nice way. I know this sounds weird. And as I said, I'm not great with my tea making abilities, but the next one is tea. Tea is very important in Ireland. As soon as someone walks into your house, the first thing you do is offer them tea. If you have a workman or a gardener around, you offer them a cup of tea. If someone gets bad news, the first thing a person says is, will I make you a cup of tea? Tea makes everything better and it solves a lot of Irish people's problems.
I can't speak for everybody here in the US, but I know that anytime I have guests over, I don't necessarily offer tea because that's just not as much of an American thing here. But I do offer them a drink of anything they want from my fridge, whether it's a soda or an iced tea or sweet tea here, bottled water, or even you know, if it's evening or whatever and they want a beer or a glass of wine or a mixed drink, whatever it is, that's pretty common, I think, to offer somebody something to drink when they are visiting you in your home. And if it's the morning, then it would probably be more likely coffee over tea, just because tea is not as prominent here in the US.
There's also a big debate about Lyons versus Barry's tea, which one is better, and that's open to interpretation, but it's a very important topic because tea is a very important part of Irish culture. The next one is dining etiquette. I think the dining etiquette in Ireland is the same, you know, the same table manners for a lot of Western countries. Things like when you're dining, you don't start your food until every single person at the table has their food in front of them. You don't chew with your mouth open, you don't talk with food in your mouth. If you've got a mouthful of food, you kind of, until you're finished eating and then you speak. You don't blow your nose at the table. I remember someone blew their nose at my grandmother's house at the table, and she nearly had a heart attack, and it's still spoken about to this day. So don't blow your nose at the table. Don't put your elbows on the table. You know, kind of, I think a lot.
All of those are pretty much the same here. I will say, and I'm doing it even right now, I'm guilty of putting my elbows on the table just because I feel like when I don't, I slouch too much if I don't have my elbows up. I feel like I sit up more when I have my elbows on the table. But I think if I'm eating, my elbows aren't really resting. I probably got my hands up. So I don't know. I don't think I really put my elbows on the table whilst eating, but if the food's not out yet and you're just sitting around and you're communicating and having conversation, then yeah, there's probably a good chance my elbows are on the table.
A lot of these are just kind of the standard table manners for most Western countries. The next one is sorry. In Ireland, sorry is not always an apology. It can also just mean excuse me. So if someone drops something, you want to get their attention, you say sorry. But this also changes depending on the tone. If someone, you know, if you're in a queue and someone cuts you, skips the queue, and if you say sorry in that tone, it means what the hell do you think you're doing? And that leads me to my next one, which is queuing. In Ireland, queuing is observed pretty much everywhere where there's some kind of service. And it's very, very bad etiquette to skip a queue. You always join at the end of the queue. You know, I've been to some countries where if you queue, you will be there all day because it's not observed.
It depends on what you're doing here in the US. Queuing is pretty standard here in most situations. If you're going to a grocery store or a retail shop or a restaurant where you order at the counter and then you're seated. Now in nightlife though, at a bar or a club or a lounge, they're often so crowded that you have to like work your way up to the bar and then just hope that you can catch their attention long enough for them to come and take your order. And so I think in that instance, sometimes people may not necessarily get served exactly in the order that they arrive at the bar, but I also will say that most bartenders and bar staff are pretty good at making note of who came up in what order and try to serve people in the order they arrived as best as they can. But you can't really queue up at a bar or a lounge or a club just because it's just simply too busy. But anything else, movie tickets, festivals, carnivals, anything where you're going to one point to place an order or purchase something, then yeah, typically people are gonna be in a line or a queue.
People just all go to the front. It's not like that in Ireland. Queuing is very important. In bus stops, you know, restaurants, hotels, shops, markets, all that stuff, queuing is very important. The only place there isn't really official queues is in pubs or bars where
Okay, so very similar to what I just said then.
Everyone kind of scrambles around the bar trying to get the barman's attention. But at the same time, there's kind of an unwritten rule that, you know, if you come up to the bar and the barman comes to take your order, you do kind of say, well, he was here first or she's been here longer than me. It'd be very, very bad manners to let yourself be served before someone that was waiting there before you. The
Agreed.
next one is go on. In Ireland, if someone offers you something, the custom is to refuse it first and let them insist. Like, will you have a glass of wine? Ah, no, I'm grand, thanks. Ah, go on. Okay, I will, thanks. Or, do you want a lift? Oh no, I'm fine walking. Ah, go on. Okay, thanks. Even if you really want something, you always do a first refusal and let the person insist. I remember one time I was in an airport in America and I was buying a ton of sweets and magazines, and this American guy that was beside me, and we got chatting, and he said to the cashier, I'll buy all this for her. And I did the polite Irish refusal of, ah, no, I'm grand, thanks. And I expected him to do the kind of, ah, no, I insist. And instead he got so offended. He was absolutely furious and he stormed off because I was so rude for blowing him off like that. And it was just a really awkward situation. I was just trying to do the polite thing. I would have loved for him to buy those sweets for me, but yeah, so it got pretty awkward. Next up is greetings. When you meet someone for the first time, you usually shake hands. If you're greeting an acquaintance, it's usually a nod of the head. If you're greeting a friend, it's usually, for girls, a hug, a kiss on the cheek. Men usually do that half hug, half handshake. But that's even if there is any physical contact, because the Irish people aren't really into public displays of affection, and they kind of just like to keep their distance. So a lot of the time it's just a how are you and leave it at that.
I think it's very similar here. Handshakes, hugs, the half, bro hug thing, if a full embraced hug if it's family or somebody you haven't seen in a really long time. But there's usually some sort of physical interaction, whether a hug, shake, whatever it is, there's usually something.
And that leads me to my next one, which is how are you? How are you is a greeting, it's not a question. So if someone says how are you, they're not asking how are you, they're just greeting you. So don't say, oh, not great today, I did this and I went here and I'm feeling this. No one really wants to know that. They're just saying how are you as hi. And you can respond one of two ways to a how are you. You can either just say grand or not a bother, or you can say how are you back at them. It's not unusual for two people to say how are you, and leave it at that and not answer the question. Just a greeting. By the way, I'm saying how are you, that's, my husband would pronounce it how are you, because he's from Dublin. I'm from Wicklow, so I'd pronounce it how are you, but it means the same kind of thing. The next one is swearing. Irish people swear a lot, and if you're not used to it, you might think they're being really rude by using that amount of profanity, but Irish people don't really consider it profanity, and we just swear a lot in our everyday conversations. If we're really passionate or excited about something, we'll throw a few swear words in. I remember one time listening to my husband and his friends, and they were really excited about a plan they were putting together, and they were going, oh, we'll effing go here and we'll effing pick this up, and then we'll effing go here and effing do that, and then effing da da. And I pointed out, do you guys realize how much you're swearing? And they were like, we were swearing? Like, they hadn't even noticed it because it's just part of everyday normal language.
I would say I'm pretty guilty of that, and probably a lot of my close friends and people I know. I'd say it's pretty very similar here. Now, if you're in a more professional setting, you might not do it, but in the office space and most places I've worked amongst coworkers, it's even pretty common. You just don't do it openly in front of people you don't know, perhaps, in an office space, but out in public or bars, pubs, whatever, yeah, it's pretty common for people to swear. And I wouldn't say that across the board for everybody, because I know somebody's going to watch the video and say, oh, I don't do that, but it's fairly common here too.
So yeah, don't get offended and don't think it's rude if someone swears a lot at you, because it's not really meant as a profanity. The next one is bye, bye, bye. Ireland is known as the land of 1,000 welcomes, but we're also really good at the 1,000 byes. It's impossible for an Irish person to just say bye once. If we're on the phone and we're ending the conversation, it's a bye, 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 bye. And then if you're in the pub and you want to leave, you usually say bye about 10 to 15 minutes before you anticipate actually leaving, because again, you can't just say bye and...
Was it Backstreet Boys or NSYNC that's bye, bye, bye? I think it's NSYNC, right? I don't know. Nothing to do with this, but the first time she said it, when she said bye, 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 that's what it made me think of. I think it's NSYNC now that I'm thinking of it.
Leave, you have to say bye and then get sucked into another conversation, say bye, and then say, oh, by the way, did you hear this? You kind of have to prepare for the real bye with a load of leading up to it byes. And then sometimes people get so sucked into all the little byes that in the end they just turn and walk out of the place without saying the real goodbye, because it's all being sucked out of them. So yeah, a lot of buys in Ireland. Bye. The next one is waving at strangers. In Dublin or any bigger cities, this might not happen, but whenever you go into the country or rural areas, everyone waves at everyone when you're driving around. And I didn't know this for a while, so when I was younger, and everyone was waving at me in the country, I just always assumed they thought I was someone else and they thought they knew me, so
That's kind of common here in smaller country cities as well. And even in some of the neighborhoods or suburban neighborhoods, you don't even necessarily know every neighbor, but if you're driving by and somebody's jogging or out in their yard, you'll just kind of give the polite wave. But yeah, if you're out like in the country roads and you make eye contact with somebody, you'll give the wave. It's just kind of a polite hello kind of a thing to do. In the city, maybe not as much. I live in the middle of downtown Houston, Texas, so it's very, very busy here. We have 7 miles of tunnels that connect underground the downtown area. So quite often I'll go down there for lunch, and you're not going to wave and nod at every single person, but occasionally if you happen to make eye contact with somebody, you might give a kind of like a little half nod or a little half smile or something, just because you happen to make eye contact. But yeah.
I never waved back. And then one day my husband pointed out, "You're being so rude. They're being nice, waving to you, and you're ignoring them." And I had never known that. So, and I love this one. I love going to the country now and waving at everyone, and everyone waves back. It's such a nice thing. And it's kind of like a wave, like one finger or a few fingers off the steering wheel at other people,
Yeah.
and they do the same to you. You don't do a full-on wave.
We'll do.
That would just be weird. The next one is "I'll let you go." If you're having a conversation with someone and you want to end it, the polite way to do it is to say, "I'll let you go," or "Sorry, I won't keep you any longer." If someone says this to you, they're really saying, "I have to go." So don't respond to that by, no, you're not keeping me," or "No, I have nowhere to be."
Don't give them a bye.
Just say, "All right, thanks, I'll see you." But yeah, "I'll let you go" is the nice way of getting out of somewhere where you're kind of finished with. So anyway, I'll let you go. That's it. They are my top tips for Irish social etiquette and customs and culture. And if there's anything that I missed out, please let me know below, or if there's anything that you noticed that I didn't mention, please leave in the comments. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Her channel is Wolf Mama is her channel, so you guys go check that out. Yeah, nice video, man. I liked it. I would say some of this stuff I was aware of, some of it was new to me. Some of it's very similar to how it is here in the States. So yeah, it's cool. I'm really enjoying getting to learn so much about so many different countries and cultures. So if there is a country or a culture or somewhere that I've not reacted to yet and you think I should add it to my list, tell me in the comments, let me know. More specifically, if you even have a video link you can provide, that's helpful as well. If you're new here and you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, click the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video, and make sure to give this a thumbs up. And I will see you guys in the next video. Later.